Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Came back to work on the Jeep in this video. Left off doing some minor upgrades cosmetically after fixing a first part failure. I'm going to continue on with that. First thing on the list is wheels and tires. Picked up the wheels and tires from the shop that did the mounting and balancing, so I'm going to get those installed on the car, get them cleaned up, and then I do have a few other minor upgrades I want to do to the interior and exterior just to make things look a little bit nicer for some upcoming car shows. So that being said, I'm going to get the camera flipped around and get started on working. So first thing is going to be wheels and tires, like I said. Here is the full set, fronts and rears. Fronts are 245 17s, rears are 275 17s, and these are the BF Goodrich G-Force Comp 2 ASs. I've run these before on old Fox body I had, and they were actually really good tires, for the money. Very grippy. I was very impressed with how they rode. They have a nice, aggressive tread pattern, and they're great hookup. Never really complained about them. They stuck pretty good, all things considered. And price-wise, they're pretty affordable for what they are. They came in for the set of four, a couple $100 less than like a set of Falcons I was looking at, which obviously were a little bit more aggressive. But they came in pretty good price point for what they offer. So I'm gonna go ahead, start cleaning them up and get them mounted on the car. And that'll be one step closer to getting the car back on the ground. Wheels and tires back on. They are snugged into place, and I went and wiped everything down, cleaned it up pretty good. Still have to torque them. I'll do that once it is back on the ground. And also install the wheel center caps at that time. But first thing I'm going to do before I put it on the ground is I want to swap shifters. I went ahead and got this shifter. This came from Finish Line, and it's just more of a accurate representation of what should be in the car right now. It just currently has the one that comes with the kit, basic black ball, and it's just angled bar. This has got different angle to it, and it has non-functional but working reverse lockout levers that you can pull up, and then it has the 5-speed. I got the 5-speed knob to match what is in it. So I'm going to go ahead, start pulling out the trim panel there, and see about removing the shifter that's currently in the car and getting the new one installed. Old shifter has been removed. You can see that's how factory 5 setup comes and how it mounts. The holes on the actual shifter itself are threaded, and then this also had nuts on top of it as well as blue Loctite that you can see in there to make sure nothing came out. That shifter handle was on this side of the lever. I'm going to kind of look at this. I'm thinking I'm going to put this actually to the inside of it, just based on how the shifter is designed. I think that'll put it where I want it position-wise, but I'll double-check things. I might temporarily mount it, see where it falls, and then make the final decision of which side I put it on, and then I'll go ahead and start buttoning things up. After sitting in it, decided, I do want to put it on that side of the shifter there. One thing I'm going to mention is the bolts that were in here for that shifter. You can see how thin that is versus that base. They were too short. So I did thankfully find 2 bolts I had in my assortment of miscellaneous bolts. Of course, they're different lengths, but you do see one does stick through, one does not. So I can go ahead at least on the one that sticks through and put a nut on that to double lock it, and then I am going to Loctite both of them. So I'm going to go ahead, remove this, get the rubber boot mounted on the new shifter, get some blue Loctite, and then get this final installed after vacuuming up some of the debris that's there in the or underneath the old shifter on the carpet. Final results: new shifter is installed, everything's tightened down the knob where I want it. Yeah, pretty happy with how it looks. Definitely looks a lot better than what was in here. I did go through it, the gate, everything works fine. It engages all 5 forward and reverse, so there's no issues there with fitment. So we are all set there. Next thing I'm going to do, I need to make just a couple adjustments to the seat belts and the side mirror for my driving position, and then once that's done, I'm going to go ahead and get this thing on the ground and then get everything torqued and put back together. And here we are, all cleaned up and back from a test drive. I wanted to check everything out because I hadn't really run it or driven it since I fixed the alternator. It is like night and day having good tires on this car for sure, after removing those 23-year-old Kumos that looked new but were basically like driving on ice. So Anyway, tires installed, set them to 23 psi and torque to 90 foot-pounds at all four corners. Quick drive around the block, everything was great. Definitely handles a lot better. Actually a lot easier to drive pulling away and whatnot because the tires just don't light up at like the slightest little breath of throttle. Now it actually hooks up and pulls away, so you're not burning the clutch up as much. So yeah, pretty happy. It is like a whole new car with these new tires. Voltage was all good, so I think we're all set as far as the alternator goes. No belt slip, no noises there, anything like that. So I am going to be taking this to Cars and Coffee tomorrow morning, so looks like we are all set to go. So it's been a few days since the last clip, and I'm going to apologize right now. Landscapers are across the street doing some work, so they're making their noise. But I went ahead, took this to Cars and Coffee over the weekend, and had a blast with it. It was very well. People liked it. It was well received. Talked to a lot of people at the show, which was really nice. Got a lot of compliments on it. Got some good driving in that day. It was a scorcher of a day. It was about 86 degrees, so it was pretty warm. And I definitely learned how much heat comes through the firewall in these things. That is probably something that will be on the future mods to try and insulate it a little bit better. Try and get some work done underneath the dash because there's a lot of heat coming in there. My legs were on fire driving in a pair of shorts. So, but anyway, beyond that, very happy with how things turned out at the show. Like I said, a lot of people really liked the car. So, yeah, that was very good news. So I'm going to continue on. I just have lots of little things to do as far as appearance mods, things to clean up on it, stuff like that. Just trying to make it that much better and, that much more enjoyable. I will also say these new tires that I put on, oh my God, night and day difference. The car is so much easier to drive. Pulling away from a dead stop. No, you're not feathering it, waiting for it to just light the tires up. It actually just hooks up and goes. It's much more pleasurable to drive. So very happy with the selection on the tires. So that being said, I'm gonna get some parts and get to work on the car. And real quick before I get started, here are a few photos from the Cars and Coffee that I took it to. So next thing I am going to address is the wind wings hardware. I mean, you can see I went ahead and last year I was able to polish up and bring back the finish on the windshield surround pretty well, but the hardware for the wind wings is corroded and rusty and looks terrible. So I went ahead and got a whole new set of hardware from Finish Line. So have all the new blocks and brackets and everything, all new screws. So I'm going to go ahead, start removing the old stuff and swap on the new replacements. All right, new hardware is swapped on. Looks a lot better. A little different than the older hardware. I think the bolts are a little bit thicker, larger size as far as the nuts go, and these are flatheads versus Phillips, but pretty straightforward. Just swapped basically exactly how the other stuff was on. So I'm gonna go grab the last two pairs of hardware and get this mounted to the windshield frame. Here it is. Everything is installed on this side. Much happier with how it looks. Nice, clean, polished hardware. Looks so much better than that rusty stuff that was on there. So yeah, pretty happy with how that turned out. One thing I was a little peeved about is I noticed after installing this side and getting the hardware together for the other side that the kit was short a few pieces of hardware. Thankfully, I also have a sun visor kit laying around, so I was able to get the pieces I needed out of that kit, and then I'll just see what I end up doing with that one. I might just go to the hardware store, find what I need, or I might be able to reuse some items between the old sun visors and the new. We'll figure that out. I haven't really looked at what they look like because when I got the car, as you can see, they were removed. The tabs are still in place, but the actual sun visors were never on it. They were in just a little cloth bag. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead, get over to the passenger side and remove that wind wing and get that hardware swapped over. And passenger side installed. So looking much better there with nice fresh hardware. That really just changes the look because those old hinges were just really taking away from it. It's unbelievable. It probably doesn't show that well on the camera, but yeah, 9-day difference having this nice fresh hardware versus that pitted, rusty old hardware on the wind wings, especially when they were up against the polished steering wheel surround or the polished windshield surround. Those hinges looked terrible. So that is job done. I can mark wind wings off the list and move on from there. So next day, and just got back from another Cars and Coffee, which was a blast. Had a great morning for it. One more thing I do want to do on the car before I wrap this video up. Want to install new locking handles on the trunk and hood. When I got the car, it has them obviously, but it only came with one key, and that was for the old ignition, no keys for the locks. So went ahead, ordered a new set from Finish Line. So I'm gonna pull the old ones out, cut the new ones to length, and get those installed. So first thing I wanna do though, before I get to work on that, is there was a car at the Cars and Coffee this morning I've never seen before. I'm gonna insert a few photos here and see if anybody can guess what this is. I know the answer. I talked to the owner. It's actually a very, very rare JDM car that was only available in Japan that they had imported here, but I figured I'd throw it out there, see if anybody wanted to try and figure it out. So take a look, let me know in the comments what you think that might be. But anyway, here are the latches I have. I did, like I said, order these from Finish Line, 2 for the hood, 1 for the trunk. Each one came with a pair of keys, so I got 6 keys total with these. I did make sure that they are all the same key for every latch. They all open with the same key, so good to go there. I already got started and marked the trunk one where I want to cut it. So I'll go ahead, get that cut, and then I can just take the 2 screws out of this one, remove this latch assembly, get this taken out, and put the new one in, screw back in place, and then rear will be done, and then go under the hood and measure the hood ones and do the same thing there. So I'm gonna get to work on getting this rear one cut and swapped. And there we go. We have a locking handle. So all set there. It's a little annoying because you have to have it like in the perfect spot just to get the key to turn to lock it, but it works. So that is one down. I'm gonna go ahead and get the hoods taken apart, the hood ones removed and taken apart. So similar with the hood, you've got, just the 2 screws you have to remove, and then you'll also have to remove the paddle here. So I'll have to get the Allen key, remove the paddle, and then just cut the new one to length, install it, put the paddle in the same spot, and then move over to the other side and should be done. So pretty straightforward. I'm gonna get to work on getting these replaced. Driver's side is done, it's installed, it locks nicely. Not opening this anymore. So pretty straightforward. I took some measurements, both of the length of the bar and then the length of where the paddle was in comparison before I removed it. And then just putting it back in, it was same thing, just, try and put this back at the same height. I did have to loosen it and back it out a little bit. It was a little bit too tight. So get over to the passenger side and get that one wrapped up. And passenger side done. Locks, holds, and then insert the key, twist it, and back to being able to open. So all set there. That is that job done. That's where I'm going to end this one. Got quite a bit done, making the car look a lot nicer. Still have quite a few parts to put on it. Next video, not sure if I will be on the Cobra or the MR2 because I do have some MR2 stuff going on, or who knows, maybe the Jeep. I do have some Jeep parts laying around I need to start getting around to as well. So, but as always, there will be another video popping up next weekend on one of the 3. If you want to follow along, if you like what you see, if you have interest in seeing what happens with any of these cars, please hit like, please hit subscribe, please hit the notification bell. Subscriptions do help, and I would appreciate it if you did it. If you have any questions or comments on anything that you've seen in any of my videos, please leave them in the comments section. I do read them, I will review them and reply. And that being said, thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.